So let's talk about the intensive care unit, the ICU. It's a place we all think of as the front line of saving lives, filled with the most advanced technology imaginable. But what happens when saving a life just isn't possible anymore? Today, we're going to walk through the framework for one of the most difficult, but also most important shifts in all of medicine, caring for a dying patient in the ICU. This right here, this is the question at the heart of it all. It really forces us to redefine what success looks like. It's a shift from seeing death as an enemy to be fought at all costs, to instead actively working to create comfort, dignity, and peace. It's a heavy question, and it's one that doctors and families have to figure out together.
So, the very first thing to understand in this framework is this massive change in philosophy. We're going to dive into what it really means to go from a curative mindset, which is all about trying to cure the illness, to a palliative one, where the entire focus is on providing comfort. I mean, just picture it. An ICU is all about beeping machines, endless tests, and emergency actions. Every single thing is geared toward keeping someone alive. The moment a team recognizes that this approach isn't actually helping the patient anymore, well, that's a huge turning point. It's the moment we stop fighting for more time and start making the time that's left as good as it can possibly be.
And this is absolutely key. This shift is not something doctors decide on their own. It's a process, a conversation called shared decision-making. It really is an ongoing dialogue to make sure that every single choice is a true partnership between the medical experts and the people who know the patient as a person. And at the end of the day, this is the North Star for every single decision that follows. The whole goal is to honor the individual. What was important to them? What did they value? What would they have wanted? The medical plan is then shaped to fit the person, not just the disease. Okay, so once everyone agrees on this new focus, the goal of providing comfort gets very, very real. The absolute #1 priority becomes making sure the patient is not suffering in any way. This is, without a doubt, the cornerstone of good end-of-life care.
So the medical team basically goes on the offensive. They're not just waiting for problems to pop up, they are actively looking for and trying to prevent the most common symptoms that cause distress. We're talking about staying ahead of things like pain, shortness of breath, or agitation to keep the patient as peaceful as possible.
Now, this brings us to a really, really important point about using medications like opioids. The source material is crystal clear on this. The intent is everything. The goal is to relieve suffering, period. Sometimes there's a fear that these medicines might hasten death, but withholding them can actually cause terrible, unnecessary distress for the patient and for the family who has to watch. Using them is an act of compassion.
All right, so this next idea might sound a little backwards, especially when you think about the ICU. But in this context, sometimes the absolute best, most compassionate care involves actually doing less. And this chart just lays it out so perfectly. Look at the left. That's the all-out curative approach. Constant needle pokes for blood tests, loud alarms going off, tons of drugs just to keep the numbers looking good. But then look at the right, the comfort focus. Routine tests stop. Non-essential alarms are turned off. Medications that aren't providing comfort, like a cholesterol pill, they're discontinued. Every single thing gets reevaluated through the lens of, is this helping or hurting? And that reevaluation, it goes all the way to the top. We're talking about the most powerful tools in the ICU, like ventilators or drugs that keep blood pressure up. There comes a point where even these treatments might be causing more burden than benefit. The decision to stop them is always, always made with the goal of allowing a natural, peaceful passing. Now, beyond all the medical decisions, there is this deeply human side to all of this that is just as critical. This is really where the science of medicine has to meet the art of compassion. This quote from the source material, wow, it really says it all. It's such a powerful reminder of the weight of these moments. For the family, the memory of how their loved ones spent their final days, that's going to stick with them forever. The way the team communicates, the empathy they show, it can truly shape that memory for better or for worse. So how do you possibly create a peaceful space in such a clinical place? Well, you actively work to humanize it. You get them into a private room if you can. You get rid of all the unnecessary, intimidating equipment. You encourage the family to bring in photos or a favorite blanket or to play their loved one's favorite music. You bend the rules on visiting hours so a family can just be a family. And I really can't stress this enough. Good communication is basically a medical procedure in itself. Taking the time to give clear, kind updates, to really listen to a family's fears, to offer support. That's what builds the trust you need to get through this together. And the compassionate care doesn't just end the moment a patient's heart stops beating. This framework actually extends beyond the moment of death to support everyone who is left behind. In fact, this source provides this incredibly practical tool to help guide the team. It's a checklist of 10 questions. Think of it as a way to make sure no stone is left unturned. It prompts them to ask things like, have we stopped the routine blood tests? And have we set aside enough time just to talk with the family? It's a simple but really powerful way to make sure all the compassionate details are covered. So after the patient passes away, the focus shifts again. It's about making sure the family has bereavement support. It's about discussing organ donation, but only if that's something that aligns with what the patient would have wanted. And this is so important. It's also about supporting the doctors and nurses themselves, because this work takes a huge emotional toll. So what this all comes down to is that excellent end-of-life care is not a failure of medicine. Not at all. It is an active, thoughtful, and deeply humane type of care. It's not about giving up. It's about changing the goal to something just as important: peace, comfort, and dignity. And that really leaves us with this final thought to carry with us. In this incredible world of modern medicine, this whole framework is a reminder that maybe the best measure of care is its ability to see past the charts and the machines and to always, always honor the person at the very heart of it all.